Greetings, ladies and melogents, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. Just a quick note, I do stream every day at 9 a.m. GMT plus 1 on both Twitch and YouTube. I'd be truly honored if you'd pop past and say hi. Anyways, on to the story, called Another Pack Bonder. ICWhatsNUrP. Silverscale was annoyed. What the hell was the captain thinking? He was a crude as the peak existence on their world of shallow marshes. They were apex ambush predators, sometimes sitting still for days before unleashing a maelstrom of violence upon their unsuspecting prey. He was far more suited to standing guard day after day than patrol, especially with a newbie. And in the chaos of the Foruvian Intergalactic traveling zoo, and life was going to be rough for the next few cycles. The newbie, of course, it couldn't just be any normal intergalactic species. He was anchored with a human of all things. He had seen holovids of them, scrawny and covered in hair. They looked like a scurvus that learned to walk upright and lose its tail. Maybe he could toss the creature in one of the cages and forget about it. That thought at least brought a smile to his face, until he heard it. "Hey there, you Silverscale? Wow, you're a massive dude." Suppressing a shudder, Silverscale turned and looked over at his partner, barely the height of Silverscale's hips. He was just as scrawny as the holovids proclaimed. How a species had evolved such a vibrant red shade of hair with skin so pale? Silverscale thought the plants of the human homeworld were green, weren't they? "The silent type, huh? Nothing wrong with that. Name's Michael. Pleasure to meet you. Captain said that we were on patrol, but didn't really say anything else. Care to fill me in while we walk?" By Offlaw, he wanted to walk and talk. "Yes, I am Silverscale. We got the Intergalactic Zoo coming through, so it's going to be hectic. Hope that you can keep up." Zoo, sweet!" Silverscale shook his head as the new partner nearly vibrated in excitement. "I fail to see how a taste relates, but it is going to be difficult. The zoo brings chaos, and citizens will try and break as many laws as they can. Drugs, smuggling, theft, all see at least 300% rise when the zoo comes through. So keep both eyes above the waterline, yeah?" Yeah, I get it," the human nodded, then immediately started looking around. "Any hints as to what you normally keep an eye out for?" Silverscale was taken aback for a second. How swiftly could these humans change? It was like seeing one of the ancient bulls change direction mid-lunge. 1 second, he was carefree. But now he could see the slight tension in the human's muscles, slight twitches to the ears, and the constantly swiveling head let him know several senses were in play. Basic does have a fairly good job at the easy stuff. Look for citizens in low-traffic areas that seem nervous. Anyone who suddenly changes direction after making eye contact. How good is your sense of smell and taste?" Silverscale added the last as an afterthought. There were several feline races that tended to taste the air rather than smell it, and the human had enough hair that it might be feline. He would need to see the teeth to be sure. We pale in comparison to some species. With particularly pungent chemicals, I think that we can detect a few hundred parts per billion. Most things in the parts per million range. Taste it either has to be physically touch our tongues or to be incredibly concentrated." Silverscale nodded, surprised yet again at the professionalism his new partner was displaying. No bravado, just facts. "I see. Seems I had the better nose, but not at all that much." The Silverscale was going to say more, but a crash and screams came up from ahead, and his training took over. "Station police, clear the path," he bellowed, voice deep enough to make the water dance where he had home. "You heard him! Out of the way!" Silverscale's lunge had left his partner behind, but it didn't take long for the human to catch up. In fact, he was using Silverscale to break through the crowds, and following close enough behind that his progress wasn't impeded, but far enough to not get entangled. That's all he had time for, as they broke through the crowd to the sight Silverscale would never wish upon his worst enemy. In the middle of the clearing was an injured young Dranthar, one of the apex predators of a world covered in plains. They could outrun anything on the station. Short-snouted canines, their bite could leave marks in some of the civilian plate armor. Someone had tried to smuggle it and somehow managed to break its leg as it was attempting to escape. In a series of unfortunate events, the zoo had a pack of Dranthars in a cage, and a few hundred units away, They'd gone wild, and their unexpected lunge against the cage had managed to topple it and free them. One now had a smuggler by the back of the neck, while the rest of the pack surrounded the injured cub. "Hey there, easy there." Silverscale sucked in a breath as the human slowly walked forwards, hands extended and upturned. Adrantha snarled and swiped at Michael, but he simply stopped where he was and waited. "Michael, get back here," Silverscale hissed, suddenly worried for his partner. His own pistol was unholstered, but it wouldn't do much to single Drantha, let alone a pack they faced. "Relax, Silverscale, I got this," he said, slowly moving forward again. The Drantha snarled, but didn't attack again. Michael merely slowed for a bit, before stopping when he was halfway. "Here, I bet you guys haven't had a treat in a while," he said, pulling what looked like a strip of dried meat out from one of his pockets. He bit off a bit, then held it out to the closest Drantha. "Come on, it's good. Give it a go," he spoke softly, moving ever closer. Interested, the Drantha leaned forward to sniff it, before quickly snatching it from the human's hand. "Pretty good, isn't it? Me ma's beef jerky recipe. Never met anyone who didn't like it," he chuckled, putting out another strip and offering it. I shook my head, dumbfounded. How in the frigid hells had a human managed to pack bond an alpha Drantha in a matter of minutes? Once the Drantha had the second piece of meat, it actually allowed the human to scratch its jaw. "Who's a good doggy? Yeah, you are, and you know it, don't you?" The human was spouting gibberish, but for some reason, it was working. He went through and started handing out strips of jerky to the other Dranthas, except for the one pinned on the ground. "Hey there, buddy," he said to the suspect. "You seem to be quite in the predicament. Now, I'll be doing my best to keep you safe, but you have to do absolutely everything I say. Got it?" I looked closer and recognized the smuggler as a Muscalan. Figures, sentient rodents. There wasn't a law they wouldn't break. Yeah, just don't let me eat me," he whined, getting a growl from the Drantha that immediately calmed when Michael stared at touching it. "Now, first I'm going to have to restrain you. Starting with your feet," Michael said, using a slip tie to secure his legs first, then his hands behind his back. Smart. "What? Oh my!" I looked to my right to see the zoo's vet standing there, a Felurian, thank Offlaw. They came from the same planet as the Drantha and had spent centuries pack bonding with them. The Drantha would hunt and bring back food, and the Felurians would build shelters and watch their young. "My partner seems to be on it. The cub has a broken leg, suspected secured by Michael, and the Drantha drooning on his back." "Indeed, I suspect the Drantha is rather angry at the moment. Come along, sir. As long as you're with me, the Drantha will mostly be peaceful." He led the way, and I reluctantly followed. The next hour or so passed in a blur of fear for me. I took over guarding the suspect while Michael and the Felurian treated the cub. All the while, the Drantha would wind about our small group, growling at the suspect. They would sniff me and stay clear, but occasionally sit down next to the human and the Felurian and just watch. "And that's that," the Felurian said, standing and cracking its back. The cub was now safely in the cage with the rest of the Dranthas, a stunt holding his legs stable. "So tell me, how did you manage to pack bond so quickly?" Me ma used to raise Irish wolfhounds. One thing us kids learned fast was to always have a treat or two on you. Feed them a bit, and those dogs would take on the world to protect you. Figured those cuties would probably be the same way," Michael explained, holding out a bit of jerky to the vet. "Dehydrated meat?" he asked, surprised, taking the offering and inspecting it before biting into it. Good, quite good. I can see why it worked. We went the other way to pack bond. We would guard the Drantha's cubs when they hunted, and they brought back out the food. Between that and the shelters against the windstorms we could build, well, they eventually recognized it as a good partnership." "Sorry to interrupt," I said, placing a hand on the vet. The other held our criminal. "Would you mind testifying about the injuries to the cub? As a professional, your word is better than mine or my partner's. And we can get this one for animal cruelty as well." "Why, it would be my pleasure," the Felurian said, glaring at the Muscalan. I had a lot to think about, heading back to headquarters with our prisoner in tow. The entire time back, Michael and the Felurian traded stories of growing up with their animals, showing each other Hollywoods. Maybe there was something to this pack bonding thing after all. End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Draxzoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.